Hello, Filsinger Games fans, and welcome to a fun little episode I thought I would do. We've recently, Filsinger Games fans, have had access to these awesome autographed cards, autographed Legends cards. For example, Iron Mike McCord and Nacho Barrera. And I thought it might be fun to take a look at the Filsinger Games cards that I have in my collections that are signed by the actual wrestlers. The thing is that I will say is these are the only two color cards I have signed. Most of the signing and going to meet and greets and conventions and stuff I did were with the black and white cards. So we're going to take a look at those. But anyway, I just thought it would be fun to check out all the autograph cards that I have and see which ones are in my collection besides these two. First, we're going to start off with Road Warrior Animal. I have both cards signed by Road Warrior Animal. I don't know if getting one of these signed was the time that he got really upset because he didn't know that a second card had been made. But anyway, it was very cool to meet him and get his autograph on these, the original one and the updated Legends one. This artwork is, I don't know, in my opinion, it's good because I like the sort of abstractness of it, but I can definitely see why, it was redone. But, so Road Warrior Animal, part of my collection. Bill Apter. Now some of these you'll notice, say to Grant, and some of them say, Road Warrior Animal. I always told them, I go, yeah, you can put my name if you want because, I don't have plans on selling these. But I love that Bill Apter said, oh, well, this nice clear spot to sign is right on my bald head. So the original Bill Apter interview card, lots of fun to meet him. There used to be a lot of big wrestling sort of reunion meet and greet stuff on the West Coast, and there was one recently, but it was more modern day stars. We haven't had one real good one with a lot of the more classic guys in it, which I think is where I met Bill Apter. Here we go. 2012, I got this one signed by Buff Bagwell himself. Again, I'm not 100% sure where I met him, but definitely get the card. I will say some of these cards I sent away for to get autographed, and some I was in person. But Buff Bagwell would not be one that I'd send away for. It was one that I met in person. Here we go. Brutus Beefcake. Got his original card signed. Pretty cool. Beefcake was always one of my favorites when I started watching wrestling. And I think part of that was because he was from San Francisco and I was born near San Francisco. So it was sort of like the hometown guy, This one is fun. These two are fun. Nick Bockwinkel, both versions of his card autographed. One saying $2,000, the other one not. Looking back, I don't know where I must have gotten this at. There were these great wrestling events that Zeke and Chris Foster and I would go to out here near the LAX airport, and I think maybe that's when I met Nick Bockwinkel and got his card signed. I just remember him being super, super nice. Here's Colt Cabana. Don't talk to Colt about his Filsinger Games cards, but I actually know Colt because he came into Championship Wrestling from Hollywood a couple times, but then also he's been at podcast events, and he's always super nice to me, always comes up and says hi. He got to meet my dad the night I was inducted into the Podcast Hall of Fame, and he thought it was cool to meet my dad. So Colt Cabana got his card signed. I don't think I have any of his color cards. I think this is the only card I have. Steve Corino, the king of old school, got his card signed here. Again, not 100% sure where I met him, but not one I would have sent away for. One I would have met at a show. Just Incredible. I remember meeting him, I believe up in San Francisco at an event booked by Kirk White, who just recently passed away. And I think this was the first time he had seen his card. and he thought it was really really cool. And he was like, "Oh, how do I get copies? How do I get copies?" And I think I gave him Filsinger Games info, but just someone who was like super excited to see his card and to sign it, and thought it looked really great. This is some, I don't know who is this? Brian Danielson. I think I probably got this signed at a PWG show. The couple times I went to a PWG show. But it was cool. And actually, when this set came out, even though I'm not necessarily a huge fan of Bryan Danielson, I mean, he's fine. I just don't watch modern wrestling. But even though I wasn't a huge, mark for Bryan Danielson, this was the card when this set came out, Legends Originals. This was the card I used in the Galacticon tournament. And he did not do well. He lost his very first round. Here is one that I did send away for, the Destroyer. And you know what? I think somewhere else in this pile, I'd have to look. There might be another one. But anyway, super excited to get this autographed. And I think he wrote, if I remember correctly, he wrote like a nice little note back, because I had written him a note about performing... because in 2003 I performed at the Tokyo Dome, and so I was like, "Hey, we have that in common." Although I played songs and you were a superstar wrestler, so. But very nice note I got back from him, and an autographed card. Here's two autographed. Oh wait, here it is. It's right here. I skipped right over it. This Dr. X card, signed by the Destroyer, and I love that he. Wrote in Japanese, too. He should be with that card. Here we go. Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man. And he put his little Bible verse there, Matthew 16:26. But I've met him a couple times, I think, at different autograph shows. I remember we're going to come to a George the Animal Steel card that I have signed. And I think... that's one of the times I met him was with George the Animal Steel. A lot of times at these events, I'm more panicked about getting my LJN card signed, so oftentimes I'll forget to bring a Filsinger Games card when I would go to these events. Hacksaw Jim Duggan, another person who I think I've met once or twice. I know he was at the Frankensons autograph signings, which they used to do out here. Zeke and I have gone to a few of those, but I've always liked this art, too. I've always thought this art was great. I know a lot of people didn't, but I thought it was good, because I just thought it was a great caricature of Hacksaw Jim Duggan. It looked like him, and it looked, just the image itself looked rugged. But obviously I got this signed after 2011 when he was inducted into the Hall of Fame. Here's Finley. Got him... got his autograph on here. Not sure where I met him, but this is another one that I wouldn't have sent away for or anything. I'm sure it was at some autograph show. This artwork is fantastic too. I loved all this artwork for these sets. Really, really good. Mr. Fuji signed my card here. And I believe this was at the same event, if I'm not mistaken, where Zeke signed Mr. Saito, because I think I got this card signed because they were both there. Anyway, very cool, very, very cool to have a Mr. Fuji signature, and he was up there in years when it happened, but super happy to get it signed. Now, someone who I have met a million times, if not a million more, is none other than Jimmy Hart, and someone I signed to the game, and of course, huge fan of Jimmy Hart, and even had his wrestler card printed out, the original Promoter Prime wrestler card. I had it printed out to have him autograph it, and he was super excited. He wanted to take a picture with it. I think he somehow thought, and I never led him to this, I just asked him to sign to be in the game, but that it was like my game or something, and he was just like, well, take a picture of me holding it up so you can promote it to people and let them know about the game and everything. And the other funny story, well, I probably shouldn't tell that story, but when I signed him, he put a different date on the form than the actual date it was. He sort of predated it a little bit because I think he knew he was being inducted into a certain Hall of Fame. And so he didn't want that to interfere with getting a card. So he was like, I'm going to put an earlier date on this. So you're all good to go. And I said, fantastic. And then we have Jimmy Hart in the game. Here's one that means a lot that I'm sure happy that I got. Bobby Heenan. Man, oh man. Miss him. Was always bummed with how things turned out for him health-wise towards the end, but was super glad to meet him. And from what I remember, he liked signing this card, and I had him sign this card on an LJN. And just glad to have that in my collection because it's Bobby Heenan. He's a legend. Hillbilly Jim got his card autographed. Super nice from what I remember. Liked his artwork, liked seeing it, and definitely somebody who I watched as a kid. This artwork, I always thought he has the tiniest waist in the world because these muscles just go into this tiny waist. But anyway, still, I love this artwork. And it was great to meet Hillbilly Jim and get the card signed. Another person who I met several times is none other than the Iron Sheik. And again, super nice. Funny story about the Iron Sheik. I don't know if it was the same time when I got this signed, but I have an LJN figure. I have one of the original 5. The first wave of LJN, they just released 5 of them. And so there's these series of LJNs on the card that only have the 5 initial figures on the back. And they're called 5-backs. And so I have an Iron Sheik 5-back, but the little butterfly hole at the top where they hang it on the rack is unpunched. So it is an unpunched 5-back, if that makes sense. And when I handed it to the Iron Sheik to sign, like the first thing he did was put his finger on here and it started to bend and he started to push out the the hole. And I was like, be careful. But then I was just like, well, I guess if the Iron Sheik punches out the hole on his card, then, you can't have it better than that. Here we go. Road Dogg and Kip James. His is signed. Yeah, Kip James right here. And that must say Billy Gunn there. But met them somewhere and got that. Both wrote DX, of course. I used to use these guys in the early version of my Golden State Wrestling Fed, and they've been gone for a while. Might be time to bring them back in. Who knows? This is another PWG show signing, I'm sure. Brian Kendrick. I forget which. We were at a PWG show. I believe it was Zeke and I. And I think I signed Paul London and he signed Brian Kendrick, if I'm remembering correctly. Anyway, there was a streak there for a while where Zeke and I were signing tag teams. We were each signing a partner of a tag team, and I'm pretty sure this was one of them. But I think this is a Zeke signing, not one of mine. Here is another one that I sent away for and was really cool to get return, and that's Ivan Koloff, 2 Grant Best Wishes champ Ivan Koloff. How cool is that? And I believe he also included a note that was really cool to read. I still have them somewhere. They're just not stored with my cards, but very cool to get a signed Ivan Koloff. Here we go with Conan. This had to have been, I think, one of the LA conventions that I got this signed. Maybe that big San Francisco mess that Werner and I went to. Yeah, we've got a color version of him now. This is the one that needs the color update. But anyway, very cool to have Conan's autograph. Jushin Liger, he, I believe, was one of the LA airport convention signings. And I think, he signed this card and he was fine signing it. And I know that there's some... You have the rights, you don't have the rights to make him to color. But I mean, he saw this card and he signed it and he didn't say anything. Nobody tackled me. It wasn't like when I got Road Warrior Animals autographed and he was like, hey, who did this? There's Paul London. And I believe, yeah, I signed him to the game. And this must have been at a PWG show that I got that signed. Superstar, Mass Superstar. Got his. I think this is one that I did mail away for. I found his address somewhere and mailed away for it, and he sent it back to me. I think that was before these plastic sleeves. Now I could send these all the time to guys to get autographed, but anyway. Mr. X. This was signed by Danny Davis, the referee. Danny Davis, and he signed this one for me. I would love a Danny Davis card in the game, both a dirty ref card and a wrestling a card with stats on it. Yeah, he needs 2 different cards. Come on, dangerous Danny Davis card. But he signed this Mr. X for me, and he thought this was a fun drawing. I should have asked him there. We were in this long line, and you kind of had to keep the line moving. So I didn't get much time to talk to him, and I think I told him that that I told him the story about seeing him referee the Bulldogs versus the Hart Foundation for the titles, and I was just so sure that he was going to help the Hart Foundation win the titles, as I thought they deserved. And then the Bulldogs beat them, of course. It was just a house show. There was not going to be a title change on a house show. But anyway, Mr. X. Look at this. Mil Mascaras. That was at an LA show signing out by the LA airport, for sure. Because I remember it. I remember he was dressed in a super fancy suit. Another person who didn't say anything about this card. But very cool to get his autograph. Probably one of my favorite female wrestlers of all time, if not my absolute favorite, Molly Holly. And super nice, super great. It was super... She's just... You can just tell she's a great person. I've always loved this card, too, that it says... Molly, you really have to look behind her, but then it says Nora Greenwald. So super excited. She was super nice to meet. I'm going to hold off on this one. This is Don Morocco. I met at another Kurt Weich signing up in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area. But aloha, Don Morocco. Super excited to meet him. Was always somebody I loved watching on WWF. Here is Amber O'Neil, who I think probably one of the signings out at the LA airport, maybe. Not a I didn't really know much about her. I just knew that she had a card, so I was like, "Oh, I'll take it. I'll print it out and I'll take it and I'll get it signed." I think she was super nice about it. This one's cool. One Man Gang. Cool to get his signature on a card. I met him I think that was at that crazy San Francisco signing. Was the first time I might have met him. And then I don't know, but this was released 2009. Maybe. Not exactly sure when or where I got this, but super happy to get it. Cowboy Bob Orton. Love it. Super. See, again, this is the same art that I kind of really like from those early Legends sets. But I always used to think that there were certain pictures of Cowboy Bob Orton, like in WWF magazine, and he looked exactly like my uncle Bill. My Uncle Bill had curly hair and kind of just, they had the same kind of, nose and everything. And there was just always part of me that was like, is that really my uncle? It's not my uncle. Another person who I don't know, Angel Orsini. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. But she was somewhere, and I met her, and I got this signed. Because, another one I probably wouldn't send away for. Someone who I met a couple times, Diamond Dallas Page. And he signed one, $2 grand, and one just his name. Oh, and then he wrote his, because I think he wanted copies of this. And so he wrote his email address on the back of the card to get, don't email. Well, I'm sure that email's public. But anyway, Cool to meet Diamond Dallas Page. How about this one? The King. I call him the King. I know people don't like him called the King, but the King, Harley Race. Got this and my LJN figure signed by him. And I remember he said that the LJN figure was the second action figure he had made. And I was like, what? And then that's where I discovered these Poppy figures that were made in Japan that were sort of the first set of wrestling action figures. And I think they made Hogan and Andre and Harley Race and anyway, Stan Hansen. Very cool to get Harley Race's autograph on there. It's my dad. Werner always used to joke that Sandman was my dad. I got to have Werner on the Filsinger Games fan podcast because we're going to do a whole talk about this event we went to in San Francisco that was a big, miserable event. But we still had a lot of fun. And Sandman was there, and that's where this joke started that the Sandman was my father. And every once in a while, Werner will send me this picture that he took of me and the Sandman, where Sandman just looks like the Sandman. Dan the Beast Severn. I'm sure this was at another LA show, probably. But I don't think I never watched much of Dan Severn, but definitely picked up his autograph. Here I have a couple from Jimmy Snuka, his original, and then his updated. Gen Con exclusive. So this is like the simple game card with the stripped down rules. But cool to have those. One of my favorite wrestlers ever. My favorite stories, meeting a wrestler in person, George the Animal Steel. Could not be a nicer guy. Just wanted to sit and talk forever. And my wife was with me. She fell in love with him. She loved him so much. We took a great picture of George the Animal Steel, like, is pulling Suzanne's hair, and like I have him in a headlock trying to get him off or something like that. And he was just the nicest guy. He was just super nice. And I even remember, I think after I met him, I was talking to Tom at one of the Galacticons, and I was like, you got to reach out to George the Animal Steel because he was super nice. And because I think that was before I was asking wrestlers to sign in the game, but I was just like, I just met him. He's super nice. You should reach out to him. And then in like the next set, that's the ticket from the autograph session that I went to. But in this next set, he came. He was in it. So awesome. Kevin Sullivan, someone people want in color very, very badly. He was an LA signing because I know I have a picture with him from that LA event. And yeah, not someone who I watched a lot, but I certainly knew about. So here is Sonny's autograph on the Chris Candido card. Met her, I think, at that big wrestling craziness in... Sorry, I realized I was not holding this the proper way. That big wrestling craziness in San Francisco. Greg the Hammer Valentine. I have the special edition card and the Legends release card signed by him. Same art, but this is 98 and this is 2003. Rob Van Dam. One of these is the Gen Con stripped down card that came out with that Jimmy Snuka card. And then his regular Legends original card. Suzanne always liked him too. He was always super nice the couple times we met him. Hello, ladies. Val Venus. His signature as well. All right, here's the question. How much did I pay? Probably $20. And I didn't buy an 8x10. But yeah, Virgil. I've seen Virgil at a few. I think Virgil might even have been Comic-Con. Virgil used to come to Comic-Con and have that big sign that says Virgil and the $1 Million Man, and it would just be him. And I'm pretty sure this is where I got that signed, was at a Comic-Con in San Diego. Nikolai Volkov and Beppo Mongol. And I remember I got these signed because I had seen him at some convention or something. And then this came out afterwards. And I went and got him signed, and he said, "Hey, who did this?" And like he didn't know that this card had been made. But see, I mean, he signed it. He didn't say anything like that. He had just never seen it before. So always a favorite, Nikolai Volkov. My first wrestling event, I think it was my first wrestling event, or a wrestling event I went to in the early days. I stood up when he was singing the Russian national anthem, and this guy who was sitting behind us was furious and just kept saying to my dad, "How can you let him do that? How can you let him disrespect the country like this?" And my dad's like, "He's 8 years old. Give him a break." He's just having fun. We're nearing the end here. We only got a few left. Coco Beware, the Birdman, who now has 2 color cards. Fancy. But yeah, I definitely used this card a lot in the early days of my Legends Fed. And was happy to meet him. Dr. Death Steve Williams. I remember he was super nice. I remember that he had... Is it a trachea? I don't know if I'm saying it right, but he had the thing where he had the hole in his throat. And he would have to put his thumb over it to talk. But it was super nice, and we chatted for a little bit, and he enjoyed signing this card. He was very happy to do so. And definitely one that I was glad to get signed. And then the final one that I have here in this stack is none other than Larry Zbyszko, who I think even at the time that I met him to get this signed, I haven't watched much about him, but then when I really started getting into watching the ESPN AWA one time when they were rerunning it, just really loved his character and thought he was hilarious and fantastic. And yeah, just thought he was great. I also have the... I just don't have it here. I have the signed King Kong Bundy card that Filsinger Games offered, but I don't have it. I don't have it with me right now. But anyway, those are some of my signed cards. I thought that would be a fun sort of thing to do, is to look at these cards and see which ones I have signed and which ones I don't. I hope you like this. Do you have any autographed Legends cards? I got to step up my game getting the colored cards signed. Let me know in the comments if you have any autographs. I would love to know. And thank you for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to like. Be sure to tell a friend or 6. And I will talk to you soon. Bye.